Going to talk a little bit today about secondary dominance, secondary dominant type harmonies, and how those move and change from one to the next, and why that's important. So we'll go through and talk a little bit about it here and see what we find and what we end up with. And so let's get started here. I'm going to do a little bit of playing on the tune, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to mute my microphone for a moment. So I'm going to play a little bit on a tune called All of Me. Okay, so a little bit of All of Me, and so let's check out a little bit of what happens with all that. So when we go through and we play, we let's do some close-ups on the fingerboard and everything here. Okay, so when we play through the changes here, we have the one chord, right? We're in the key of C. Now the strictly in the key, the 3 chord would be E minor, but in this case it's E7, right? So we could say, well, it's a dominant 7th type chord, so maybe it's a secondary dominant. So we can say, okay, 5 of the 2, okay, and then 5 of the 6, excuse me. So 5 of the 6, and so the 6 is dominant as well. So that becomes the 5 of the 2. So that's where that leads in. Okay, so we have a dominant 7, E7, and then a dominant 7, A7. Okay, so notice both of those chords are really outside of the key of no sharps or no flats, right? Because we have, we'll say C sharp on the A7, so that naturally occurs as A minor. Okay, so we have the 5 of the 2. Okay, and then we have the 5 of the 6 again. This really is going to be a minor 6, but it's really kind of functioning more as a 2 chord if we see what comes up next. So we can have these sort of dual functions of things where this seems like, okay, really feeling like a 5-1 in minor. And then we have this little shift where this really feels more like a 2-5 at that moment. And that kind of puts the brakes on the progression with the D7. And we end up with really kind of a 5 of the 5 kind of sound, D7. But we're going to put a 2-5 in between. So D minor to G7. But in a sense, it's a 5 of 5. And then it becomes a 2 chord. Okay. So some of these things can help to inform a few of the extensions that we might use when we're improvising. Okay, so we might, especially as a 5 of minor, like E7, we might use maybe a flat 9 kind of sound, maybe a sharp 9 sound, maybe a flat 13 kind of sound, augmented triad sort of thing on that E7. Right. Same thing with the A7, very similar, because we're anticipating going to a minor chord, so D minor, so maybe flat 13 kind of a sound, maybe the flat 9, maybe a sharp 9. Okay, not to say that you couldn't use natural 9. But that helps to kind of inform some of the decisions that we might make on some of these. Later in the progression, we have the 4 chord. And we have a F minor 6. Now I might tend to think about that F minor 6 in terms of a B flat 7. It's the same kind of sound, just different, maybe possible root note. But of course you could think in terms of the minor 6 as well. E minor 7 to A7. Okay, so then we have a kind of a 2-5. Okay, so remember, always compare these chords to what we might have in that's strictly diatonic. So E minor, okay, so we know E minor, but this is a little different because this doesn't feel as much like a 3 chord when it's paired with the A7, right? It feels like a 2-5. Okay, so the secondary dominant of the 5 of the 2 can also have a 2 in front of it. And then we get another 2-5. Now this is not a secondary dominant because that's the key we're in. Okay, and then we have a little bit of a turnaround on the E flat diminished. Now E flat diminished, you might even try to think of it as a 5 of 5 in a sense, like a D7 flat 9 with E flat in the root. Okay, so just be careful about the root note. So there's a relationship between the fully diminished and the dominant 7 flat 9. So I tend to kind of like that sound of and the concept of thinking about the dominant 7 rather than a diminished. All right, so let's do maybe a little more playing and see if we can listen for some of those those ideas on this. Okay, so this particular tune would be really helpful to do some thinking in terms of that five of whatever happens to be coming up next. So really try to think about where things are going, and how that helps us relate to what we're doing there. So thanks so much for checking this out. Hope you enjoyed it. And please leave a comment. Let me know how you're doing on this, and if you'd like to hear more on this tune and everything. All right, everybody. Well, thanks again. I'll see you all in the next one.